Yeah, so I'm Nic Marks. I'm a statistician by trade, and I also trained as a psychotherapist when I was young, so I kind of had this mixture between people skills and statistical skills. My career has mainly been around quality of life and well-being. I used to work in public policy about how government can promote well-being, and some bits of work there that I did, like the 5 Ways to Well-being, which are quite well known. Then I did a TED talk in 2010, and then after that I decided to work on work because adults spend so much time there, and actually it's a great way of reaching them. So now I have a business called Friday Pulse, which creates measures of workplace happiness. So it's great if people are happy at work. It's great for them, obviously, because being unhappy is not great. And but it's also great for the business because people and teams that are happier are more productive. They've got higher staff retention. So those are 2 big pain points for organisations. So happiness is really, really important in the workplace, particularly at a team level. And so if you can unlock the secrets to that, you're basically creating more sustainable success for businesses. So that's really what takes me into the field. So something that organisations can do and is in their own power is measure happiness at work, because what you measure is what you manage. And organisations, numbers are the language of business. So if you can create a number on what seems intangible, like happiness, it brings it to attention. And actually happiness is quite easy to measure. It might sound crazy, but you just ask people every week, how happy were you this week at work? And because it's very focused on one bit of time, people can give you a really strong answer, and they will tell you when they're not happy and they'll tell you when they are happy. And clearly happiness is a signal of good fit. When we're happy, we're in a good place, internally and externally. When we're unhappy, something has to change. So the data mimics that system that we have internally with us, but at an organisational level. So some people use the word well-being and some people use the word happiness, and I think both work well in different contexts. The more corporate you get, the more public policy, well-being feels an easier word for them to adopt. But if you want to engage with people on the sort of shop floor, at the coal face of it, happiness is much better because people understand it. If you say, are you happy at work, they understand it. If you say, what's your well-being at work, they're not going to understand it. So whichever way you brand your program, I think happiness is the best measure of well-being anyway. And happiness is more inspirational to people, more relatable for them. However, it also takes you very directly into the world of emotions. Well-being can keep you slightly more at the physical health level. So you've got to be embracing that fact that you're into people's emotional well-being, really. So the benefits are really about that productivity gain and the staff retention gain. And actually, staff retention is a big pain point for people. People leaving too early, because it obviously costs money to recruit somebody, and you have to get payback on that. And if they've left because they're unhappy quickly, or you don't ever get a payback from it. So it helps people stay longer. So by my estimates, happier people will stay sort of 60% longer than okay people. Unhappy people will live very quickly. And so, it really is actually what drives that. So for organisations, it's getting more value out of their employees, effectively. So that's the main thing. What are the barriers? Time pressure. Organisations, businesses are under a lot of time pressure, increasing time pressure over the last 10, 20 years. Work has sped up, and team leaders are already working a lot of overtime. And if you say to them, you've got to look after the well-being of your team, well, that just feels an extra burden to them. And so you've really got to strategically make happiness and well-being a priority and give team leaders a time budget to think about their team's well-being more. So when it comes to long hours cultures, there's absolute pockets of it. As an overall economy, hours worked has been dropping consistently over the last century, actually, from over 3,000 hours a week that people used to work down to about 1,700. It varies in organisations, in sectors where it's not unionised. There can be a lot of unpaid overtime, and unpaid overtime looks a bargain to the employer, but there's no way that the person's 51st hour of working in the week is going to be as good as their 31st hour. So you're going to get falling marginal utilities. So I think we need to look at long hours, but the main thing is that work's getting more and more pressured. It's getting, you've basically got systems which are always on, so people don't ever really leave work. They're working from home, so that sort of pressure is more. So one of the pieces of work I'm most well known for is the 5 Ways to Wellbeing, which was a project for the UK government's Office of Science's Foresight report. And the brief was to focus on what individuals can do themselves. So the 5 Ways to Wellbeing were very much like, what can I do myself? And that's great in our overall lives, but at work we've got systemic effects going on, like the team, the organisation. So I wanted to create a tool which was socially orientated, as in it was about groups, and it was systemic. And so my work now is how you put in those systems so that organisations are just better places to work. So happiness sounds like it's intangible, therefore you can't measure it. But if you ask people how happy they are, they do know. And what's interesting about happiness as a measure is it's got a sense of enough in it, in that you might be really enjoying your work, but if you do too much of it, you're going to start being less happy because it's going to have other spillover effects. So happiness really includes this really nice feeling that it's a really good fit for where you are now. And so in that way, it's actually a really strong measure. We understand the question, and it's really useful because it's picking up whether people are a good fit. And what I find with measurement is that the more specific you get, the easier it is for someone to give an answer. So if I ask them, how happy are you in your overall life, they will give me an answer, but it's a little vaguer. If I say, how happy are you at work, it gets a bit more specific. If I say to you, how happy were you at work this week, people get very specific. And the more specific, the better the data, the more robust the data. So that's why I really like a tight measure of happiness. When we did the 5 Ways to Wellbeing work, I pitched the idea to the Foresight project that it should be the equivalent of 5 fruits and vegetables a day. And so that's why it's 5. And so there you are, you're immediately into a fact that I'm using an idea from marketing, in the sense that there's a brand that exists already, that 5 is a healthy number. We think, if you ask what's your 5 a day, everybody knows what you're talking about. And so there's already that connotation that's healthy. So we wanted to use that to basically communicate what are the things that people can do. And so then you get into an exercise of like, okay, you need some variety underneath that because you want to give people an option to doing different things. And you need some specificity, and they go in different ways, those two tensions. So it comes out to be a marketing project, taking the data we have, the empirical evidence about what leads to improved well-being, and packaging it in a way that people can really relate to. And one of the big strong ethoses of social marketing is that you start where people are, that you try and find a way. So we basically try to message them in ways that people, however they were, could adopt them. So for example, and to be active. Quite a lot of government messaging is, you should do, 3 days a week of 30 minutes sweaty exercise or whatever it is. Or you should do 10,000 steps. Well, that's not very helpful to you if you're disabled. Or, you've got other issues. So start from where you are. So we say, do any activity from, whatever your ability is. And of course it can be, for well-being, it's quite interesting. It's quite a lower effect than some of the health ones, the physical health ones. So getting up off the sofa, walking, even dancing, gardening, these are activities which are really good for you, even though they don't look like formal exercise. And it's just basically moving your body. And so it's messaging it so that people can really relate to it. And I think that's what we did well with the 5 Ways ultimately. I'm working on a book at the moment. It won't come out till 2025. Its title is Happiness is a Serious Business. And it will be about this topic and about what teams and organisations can do to promote better workplaces.
Hi, my name is Dermot Mullally, and I'm the Joint Programme Lead along with Dr. Stacey Cahill on the MA in Leadership in Workplace Health and Wellbeing in TUS Midlands Midwest. This 1-year full-time Level 9 programme runs across 3 semesters starting in October. Taught modules include workplace wellbeing, health promotion, strategic planning, project management, leading change in the workplace, and research methods. In semester 3, our students complete and submit a piece of independent research. Planning and work for this begins in semester 1, and with the support and help from a supervisor, the students complete a research thesis on a topic that they choose. In semesters 1 and 2, our students attend lectures and tutorials 2 days per week in our Moylage campus in Limerick City. This condensed teaching programme gives our students the freedom to continue working and studying at the same time. Our graduates are highly qualified to fulfill roles in the modern workplace, often in human resources or occupational safety and health, working as workplace health coordinators, health promotion managers, culture change managers, or as well-being champions. Several of our graduates are now running their own consultancy businesses, advising multinational companies, SMEs, schools and colleges and public sector organisations on how to embed health and well-being into the strategic plans, policies, culture and day-to-day running of these organisations. If you'd like to find out more information about the programme, check out Healthy Work Tooth on Instagram and X, or click on the link to the course page below.